Hello, this is Brooke Fraser on Hey Music.
Radio Berlin 88.8. Hey Music mit Jürgen Jürgens.
The really well-known thing in Germany is there's something in the water.
Yes.
It was a huge success, not only in Germany, but I think it's the one everybody knows.
Yes, in Europe for sure, yeah.
And yes, when I heard the new one, I thought there has to be something in the water because it's totally different. What have you drunk?
Exactly.
What has happened?
Well, something in the water, I think, was an anomaly on its own. You know, it was very different to actually anything else in my catalogue. So really that was almost, an anomaly, a song kind of on its own. And so, you know, certainly I don't think that song was reflective of my wider sound necessarily. So yeah, that was that song, and yeah, obviously, you know, I toured that album Flags for a number of years, and then even in the midst of promoting it, actually even before that, just as I finished the record, I felt like, you know, it was my third album. I felt like I'd come to the end of a trilogy almost, and that the next project would be beginning a new chapter of my, you know, my artistry and my life as a not just an artist, but a songwriter and a producer. I felt like I had more to explore. So really I set out on a journey to find out what that more was. And this new album, Brutal Romantic, was the result.
It's more technique, more not acoustic. So it's a totally different style from what we know with this huge success.
Yes.
What does it mean for you emotionally?
For me, it's been very refreshing, you know, because I had made 3 albums in a more of a traditional singer-songwriter pop folk kind of style. And, you know, my heroes are people like Paul Simon and Joni Mitchell. And one of the things I love about them is that their songwriting stayed very consistent over decades, but the ways that they expressed that sonically changed. And so for me, I didn't feel like I was doing anything radical or strange. It just felt like me, you know, exploring more of what the musical expression of the same core could be, if that makes sense.
It's not only the music that has changed, your outfit has changed, your hair is now a little bit has changed, things like. So what has happened is everything else as usual as it was 5 years ago?
Yes, I think so, yeah. I mean, it's funny, I think people read into things a lot, and, you know, my hair is a different colour, but I have been surprised at the reaction. I'm like, it's just hair, what's the big deal? And actually it wasn't even something I decided. My hairdresser, I went in, as I usually do, and he said, do you feel like a change today? He said, do you feel like a change? And I said, sure. He goes, do you trust me? And I said, sure. So I didn't even decide this. It was my hairdresser. And I thought, okay, this is what we're doing now. So, you know, it's not some big, you know, manufactured image change or something like that. It's, yeah, everything, for me, yeah, it's, you know, everything is the same. I'm just continuing on my journey as an artist and a woman, as a human. And this is where I happen to be right now. Yeah.
Musically, it started very early, playing the piano.
Yes.
And now, is it the piano as well, or is it more the guitar that you're playing when you're composing?
Now, well, when I was composing this record, because I knew I wanted to, you know, explore something different and go into new creative territory for myself. And, you know, when I started writing this album, I had been writing songs for, you know, 17 years already. And so in order to do something different when you've been doing something for so long, I really had to go back to basics and look at changing some very fundamental approaches that I had. So I didn't allow myself to do you know, to go back to some of my default patterns, like writing on the acoustic guitar, or, you know, sitting at the piano and playing a lot of major seventh chords. So I taught myself, you know, studio software and began playing with synthesizers and textures and rhythms. And that was really fun for me because all of a sudden it put me in a different headspace. I was able to play with melodies and phrasing that I don't think would have occurred to me if I had been, just playing a simple chord progression on the guitar as I usually would. So for me, it's been, it was very challenging, but a really satisfying journey to discover these new parts of my own writing and explore new territory, but still in a way that was, true to myself as an artist. Yeah.
Just when the record started with Psychosocial, it's really totally different. And quite exciting, the sounds. What kind of reactions you have of the fans that have followed you through the first songs and albums?
I think Psychosocial was a little alarming for some people.
I think so as well.
But I kind of it was supposed to be a little bit, and it's really it's actually a very cheeky song, and the reason that we put it out first and put it on social media and all of that was because it's a song about social media. And, one of the things that I've observed over my time as an artist, when I first was signed and began making music, social media didn't exist yet. I don't think Twitter existed or Facebook or any of these things. And so I have watched as social media, began and emerged and began to be more widespread. And then all of a sudden, is such an intrinsic part of kind of modern society's consciousness, and to a degree that I think is kind of dangerous sometimes. So really for me, Psychosocial, I wrote it because I wanted to address the disturbing and toxic aspects of our relationship with social media and how we use it to relate to each other. I think it can be
sound different.
Yeah, so I wanted it to sound a bit menacing and a bit disturbing because that's the nature of the topic, I think. Not necessarily because I have become a menacing or disturbed person. Yeah.
There's one single out now in Germany.
Yes.
I think they choose the song that is quite similar to what we know from you. It's not the craziest song on the album.
Yes, exactly.
What's it about?
Well, I really like this song, Kings and Queens, because for me, it was one of the first songs that I wrote for the album, and it kind of captures, I think, the moment in time I found myself in when I was beginning this project, which was, it's a song about being, very grateful for your journey so far and, how far you've come from when you began, but it also looking to the future and realizing that you have a long way to go, but kind of being determined to embrace the future and go there. So that's what Kings and Queens is about.
Where do you find your stories?
Many places. I'm very inspired by literature. So often a song idea will come to me after I've finished a book that's kind of stirred me in some way. Kind of anthropological observation, just watching people and kind of, I suppose, silently making notes about things like our relationship with social media or kind of interactions that I witness. And they come from all over the place. But usually kind of just life with people and books as well. Yeah.
Is there a point when you say it's too intimate, it's too private? I'm talking about in my song, so I will not put it out?
I think certainly, my first and second albums were very, very personal, and I'm happy with that. I'm pleased with that. I'm proud of that. But I think after that point, especially with my second album, Albertine, I toured that extensively, and it was a very personal album and, somewhat traumatic because of the themes of it. I realized that in order to for this music thing to be sustainable for me, I needed to find a way to write songs that were still personal, that didn't make me feel like I was going to have a nervous breakdown after I had, shared these and been so vulnerable and raw with people. So I think my writing has changed in a way that I can still write about very personal things, but I've found other avenues to express that, whether that be through characters or narrative or a mood. So I think it's more sustainable for me now, while still being very personal.